Yes, I bought another motorcycle. And you may be asking, why did you buy a bike at the end of October? Well, the answer is, I don't have one. I do have a motorcycle problem. I talked to my friend about it, and the solution is, I get a bigger garage. But with that said, I do have a grotesque amount of motorcycle debt that I've racked up over the years, so if you want to help your boy out, use some of those affiliate links in my other videos. Let's open it up and see what I got. I am so excited for this. Oh. I really don't know the best way to open this, so we're gonna do this together. We got some tools, the manual. This will be important. We're gonna set this aside. And we got Layla here to help if we need. It seems pretty solid, so we're gonna lift it off. There she is, a YCF GP Daytona 187. And it is beautiful. I've never had a motorcycle wrapped in a bag. In this video, I'm gonna try and get it all put together. I'm gonna see if we can get it running, and we'll look at it real close and check it out. Let's get into it. So it does come on the stand, which keeps it upright. That's awesome. There is a little bit that we're gonna have to put together, which is going to be, I believe, the rear sets, the handlebars, the front fairing. It does seem pretty stable sitting there, so I'm gonna get the tools, we'll bring the camera closer, and we're gonna start putting it together, see if we can get it running. I am gonna read the manual a little bit, see if there's anything I have to do before we do the initial start. Then we're gonna try and get it running, get some of the break-in time in, perhaps go for a little ride. Let's do it. It looks like everything is packaged pretty well. There was foam pieces on the side to keep it safe during shipping. I've never purchased a bike before and done all the initial prep for it. So I'm assuming this is the clutch and this goes in here. The reason why I got this bike is because I've been riding my Grom on the kart track and absolutely loving it. I never thought I'd have so much fun on my Grom. With that being said, there was a lot of parts that I want to put onto it, and I've already done a lot of the upgrades, but the parts that I want to get for it to make it closer to something like this are going to be about another $2,000. I've already upgraded the power. I also wanted to get a aluminum swing arm. I wanted to either get the bushings or bearings for the swing arm, possibly lighter wheels. There's a whole lot of parts that are going to cost quite a bit of money, and I figured since I love doing this so much, why not get a bike that's dedicated to it? The other thing is, as far as weight savings, my Grom is about 215 pounds right now. This is 167, I believe. So I'm never gonna get it that light. This is not street legal. It's not made to go on the road. It doesn't have any electronics or anything like that. So that's where a lot of the weight savings comes from. It doesn't have a battery, doesn't have a starter. So it's gonna make this my dedicated kart track bike, and I am so excited for it. All right, so it looks like we got throttle, we got the handlebars on. And the nice thing about these bikes is everything is completely adjustable. You can adjust the clip-ons up, down, angled up, angled down, rotated back. The suspension is all fully adjustable, front and rear. It's super light. The only thing I'm not a fan of is the kickstart. I do prefer to have that little button. To get the handlebars on, it looks like we are going to need a T30. And I'm just gonna get this all put together roughly and then adjust it all night to see how I like it. But for right now, we just want to get the things in there and just snug tight. Might help if I looked at the directions, but everything should be pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I know what it's going to look like in the end, so I know how they pretty much have to go together. One of the things I was looking at is aftermarket levers for these, but these levers honestly don't look too bad. At least the front brake doesn't. I may want to change out the clutch lever, but we'll see how it all is once we get it on. Now we're down here on the shifter side. I'm going to try and get this all unwrapped. Looks like they did do a pretty good job of wrapping up everything that needs to be. Well, a lot of times when you buy bikes, you're going to be getting aftermarket rear sets like I did for many of my other bikes, including the Grom. This comes with what look like to be very nice quality rear sets that are completely adjustable. And I do believe this may come in GP shift stock. I'm not sure. That's not something I'm used to. It does have the ability to switch it to a normal shift pattern with 1 down, 4 up, or technically it's actually neutral down, then 1 through 4 up. I may do that just until I get used to it. So it looks like we just need to back these out and then attach this on here. What's also nice about this compared to the Ovalis are these actually have foldable foot pegs, which the guy at the cart track told me we had to have. I grabbed some tools. I believe it's going to be a 6mm. Looks like they have these spacers and a little lock washer in there. And these spacers, I believe, will fit in the back of there. Yep. I have a feeling I'm probably going to like them higher up and back further, but we can always adjust that once we're sitting on it and see if we like it a different way. And it does look like we could switch this possibly to be down further to do a reverse shift pattern if it's not set up the way I like it. We're over here on the right side of the bike, which we're gonna set up this rear set with the rear brake. Everything looks like it's packaged very well on this side as well. Hopefully I don't cut through the brake line. That would be bad. Cut away from yourself. I learned that the hard way. Wow, these are really nice pieces of aluminum. The quality on this, from my initial look over, does look very, very nice. And that's going to mount just like that. Now these little spacers in here do have a little notched edge, and I'm really not sure what they're for, if there's a certain way it's supposed to go, but I do know that this side right here goes into the rear set, because there's a small recessed area that fits into perfectly. And that's the way they put them on here. Always want to start everything off by hand. That way you can tell if something's not going in right. I can tell by the powder coating that there's some in the threads. So perhaps that's why this one's giving me a little bit of a tough time getting started. There we go. Looks like we, there's some loose pieces on here. I'm definitely going to have to look over this really well and figure out how everything works. Looks like there's a set screw to kind of stop where it actually rests. A bit of a stiff rear brake, but we'll have to look at that a little closer. We got the Kickstarter right here, and last up we got the front fairing, and then I believe what would be a radiator guard, but there's no radiator on this, or oil cooler. The one down here looks like it just pops into some holes. This looks like we have to remove these two screws, and then there's these little push pop pins that go in. And what I do see on here, it looks like some little winglets, just like my Ducati, a lot of the new bikes. It looks like they want to incorporate that design onto everything. And I need to grab my dog's leash because it's about to knock over the camera. And again, I'm going to go back and put Loctite on everything. I just want to get it together so you guys can see what it looks like. Maybe we'll get it running, but before we do any serious riding, we're going to go through, check over all the screws, make sure everything is good. All right, so it looks like we just need a small screwdriver to, there we go. Those little push pins, I forgot what they're called. So far, the overall quality on everything looks incredible, actually. I was between this and an Ovale, and actually one of my local shops is going to be an Ovale dealer soon, and I actually feel pretty guilty that I'm not buying one from them. As you know, I have a bike problem, so maybe I will get one, I don't know. It looks like for the money, these are the way to go. There's not much to them. I do know with the Italian bikes, sometimes parts can be difficult. It looks like this company does stock, not this company, Wholesale Cycle. I purchased this from Moto D, but it looks like Wholesale Cycle does have a lot of the parts for these in stock, which is pretty cool. And they are about 3 hours away, 3.5 hours away from me in Buffalo. They're in Akron, Ohio. So if I do need parts, it shouldn't be too difficult. So it was pretty much impossible to get that small plastic piece in there without standing in front of the camera, but that is all in there. It looks like for the most part the bike is together. The last thing I need to do before I sit on it and see how it feels is tighten the bolt for the rear suspension. I'm not sure why it's so loose like that. Yeah, honestly I have no idea. I will give that a little bit of a tighten, and then we should be able to sit on it and see how it feels. I'm not really sure if they intentionally left this loose. One thing nice about the manual is it does give you torque specs. So I know they want this at 35 Newton meters. One of the things I noticed with the rear brake is it was extremely stiff and it wouldn't spring back. There's just a spacer in there. Nothing's touching the bearings, so it doesn't allow this to spin freely. For the most part, we got the bike together. Unfortunately, there is an issue with the rear brake. I'm going to reach out to Moto D and or Wholesale Cycle to see what they can do about that. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. There is a small spacer that presses in and is supposed to press up against the bearings in there. It's actually pressing right up against the lever. So therefore, when it's actually torqued down to the right torque, you can't move the lever. So obviously you don't have a rear brake. Probably not gonna get it running tonight. I'm losing daylight. This is it all together, minus the rear brake. I have the cylinder right here. I raised the bars up a little bit. Sitting on it, it's actually kind of crazy because a Grom is technically a little bigger than this, if you want to say. The wheelbase is about the same, but this feels like a much larger bike when you're actually on it. Much more aggressive position, even though my Grom is pretty aggressive since I put on the rear sets and the clip-on style handlebars. But I am so excited for this thing. Definitely feels good. Obviously, I haven't ridden it. Gonna have to get the suspension adjusted. Hopefully next weekend we'll be able to take it out for the track. It's probably gonna be the last day if we can. If you haven't already, hit that like button and definitely subscribe. There's gonna be a lot more videos of this bike to come. I will do a follow-up video based on what happens with Moto D or Wholesale Cycle to see what they can do to get me the correct parts. I'm not sure if it's just the bearing that needs to be replaced, if it's the whole lever. Perhaps if I do press the bearings into there a little further, it could solve the problem, but I'm not sure the process of pressing in the bearings into the lever. If you have any questions about this, obviously this bike is very new to me. I'm still learning it. I put it all together for the most part. Probably gonna get it running tomorrow night. If you have any experience with these bikes, let me know in the comments. I don't see too many videos online, so if you want some info on them and some follow-up videos, modifications, definitely subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.